it's a fan favorite for a reason. But you know what? Let's go ahead and rejoice in our 2000 atmospheres love as we begin game 1 of the series. Without further ado, spawning at the bottom left, we got our blue Protoss player playing for Alpha X. Make some noise for Zoun.
And his opponent from KaiZ Gaming, in the top right hand corner, is the red Zerg, Solar. Just starting things off with a good old classic hatchery block with the probe. Solar just gonna take his hatchery in the third. It's like in this map, it's not really too much of a problem taking this hatchery over the other third base, because this is a pretty easy place to defend, and Protoss cannot really abuse the drop potential between the third base and the main base. So Solar is just gonna take this and wait for the right time to take his natural.
Yeah, all that really is going to happen is that there is going to be a little bit of a delayed mining time, because of course the drones will have to travel just a bit extra more in terms of distance to that second base. But you know, you also got to keep in mind, of course, the probe did move on out early, so Zoun did also lose a little bit of mining time on his end. And but then I think it is worth it, because of course the amount of mining time lost is a bit more for Solar.
Yeah, it never really amounts to big trouble for any of those two players. It just happens. It's ZVP 101, and we just enjoy for what it is. Protoss players being annoying, and Zerg players trying to be as less annoyed as possible by the Protoss shenanigans. And I'm not saying this as a Zerg player as well.
Oh no, I get you. It is annoying if someone blocked my natural base. I would get annoyed as well.
Well, at this point, it's not an if anymore.
Oh yeah,
it just happens.
All Protoss is like, that's pretty much all I do.
All right, we have a Stargate opener on the south of Zoun. Sending his first rally point on the Stargate, like immediately on the Overlord. So I'm probably expecting a Void Ray first. Here it comes. It's indeed a Void Ray first. And it has been the favorite opener for a lot of time. And the nerf to the price of the Void Ray didn't change this.
Yeah, so if you guys did not, or recently just came back and wasn't aware, yes, the Void Ray now costs a little bit more. Also, the build time also increased a little bit as well. So it's a bigger investment to go into Void Rays this time around. And it looks like Zoun will go ahead and will elect for the Void Ray to take down that Overlord.
It was a much needed change. Not because I think the Void Ray was too strong. That is just some ladder problems. I don't really mess with that. I just really think that the Void Ray was just too much of a safe option. You can never really go wrong going Void Rays before the nerf. Now it's somewhat of a, as you were saying, of an investment. Something you need to plan forward into. You cannot just make 5 or 6 Void Rays and just call it a day, because they're good at everything, they're not expensive, they're fast, and they're just gonna carry you through the early game. Now, it's a little bit different. And Zoun is going to go into something very wild right here, taking Resonating Glaives and +1 air attack. So we're gonna see some Zoun shenanigans, I will say.
Yeah, like I was about to ask you, like, what do you think of this? I mean, this is kind of an indicator that he is gonna invest into air at some points. Now he is, of course, preparing for a glaive depth attack, so he is gonna delay the extra Stargate for the time being. But I would imagine that he would follow this up with additional Stargate. But no, actually he cancels the +1 air, throws down a Robo instead.
Yeah, was probably expecting for some kind of scouting out of Solar that just really never happened. And then dropping down Robo, dropping down a Forge. He's gonna have a Resonating Glaze done very soon. He's not gonna have a Word Prism with this, but a lot of adepts are already trying to find a shade into something they can kill fast enough and then get out of. But with +1 ground weapons incoming and a robot incoming as well, Zoun is looking to drop down some key units, some observers on the map to get a good grasp about what is going. And what is going right now is Solar just getting a million roaches. He's not really producing a lot of drones.
Yeah, he's just really afraid of that, that glaive adept harassment. So he is just really kind of a little bit overreacting, maybe you say, to this glaive adept push here, or potentially as he now backs off, will retreat the dust back into home. But you can see the army supply 71, 73, 76 to 32 now, which is way more than you need now. Granted, Roaches does inflate the supply a bit, but he does have 15 Roaches and 34 drones for only 13 adepts, which is really not, you don't really need that much to defend against 13 adepts. So it looks like Zoun kind of bluff has paid off, as he is starting to head into higher tech units with a Void Ray, with a Disruptor. But looks like Solar is going to transition this into a full-fledged attack.
Yeah, I have not seen a drone in that production tab for like 2 minutes so far. And Solar is just gonna go at it with Roaches and Ravagers, a little bit spread around, fighting on 2 different spots. That's not exactly what you want to do with Roach and Ravager. You want to get concave, and that's what he's looking to go for in this spur base. Meanwhile, in the main base, so many lanes are going at it. They're gonna stop the Disruptor production, and meanwhile, the Ravagers are fighting at the third base. 2 beautiful fights out of Solar, going at it on Zoun in 2 places that were too rough for him to defend. The adepts are holding the door in the main base, but all of the key production of Zoun is really threatened, and this robot is going down. So is the third base of Zoun, it looks like, and this is not looking pretty for the Protoss player.
Yes, Solar smartly killed down the rock, so he was able to walk his queens and units much faster. And yeah, looks like Solar will take the first game.
And XX Blind asking in chat, Roach Ravager better now or not really? I will say indirectly better, because of the Void Rays being a heavier investment. That doesn't really make them better straight up. Roach Ravager was always solid, it is still solid, and it will never cease to be solid. Being better, just slightly. Let's say just slightly.
Alright, looks like nothing too crazy going on thus far. But yeah, this with the new patch changes, there is still going to be a little bit of adapting period where both sides, even Terran players, will have to kind of figure out the new meta. I think for the most part it is not too drastically different, but there are certain things that does need a little bit more adaptation, a little bit more experience in terms of dealing with. And I think this is this grace period where there is a kind of basically considered the off season, is where players are kind of testing things out and making sure how they can kind of counter certain things. And I think Zoun will take that last game, hopefully, and kind of dissect it to see how he could have done things a little bit differently so that it doesn't happen to him again.
It's interesting that he chose Burning Run as the second set for this series, going for an early Robo Bay with this as well, skipping that good old Stargate opener we've seen in the first game of the series. And Berlingam being much shorter map than 2000 Atmospheres on straight up distance rush distance, sorry. And having a little bit of a weird ramp to defend on, similar to what we had on, I don't know if you guys remember this pretty old map, Port Alexander, that had a pretty much identical layout at this. Like, it's quite literally the same map, by the way. And without the third ramp that was closed off on Port Alexander, but for everything else, it's pretty much the same identical map. So choosing this over any other map prompts me to believe that Zoun wants to play a little bit more aggressive. He has some Zerglings up his ramp. He's gonna drop down his gateway to do the full wall off and cancel it when he realizes there's not much to be afraid of. But he has a Warp Prism out, he has Warp Prism speed incoming, and he has a Disruptor in the making.
Yeah, and now Solar, he doesn't have any idea of this strategy coming because his Overlord has not yet scouted it. He at least right now does see the Warp Prism, but he does not see the Disruptors. I mean, for all he knows, it could be like a DT rush or something. But nope, it's going to be a Disruptor drop. And let's see if Zoun can successfully pull this off. There is a lot of lings here out for Solar, so maybe he can kind of get a surround on those Disruptors before they can kind of shoot out, but it's still going to be pretty difficult.
It's definitely going to be a tall task to stop the Disruptor from getting any damage. It's going to be up to reaction timing on those drone spool. Solar will see this Warp Prism and will see, yeah, that Warp Prism is a little bit too fast, isn't it? And he's probably right now acknowledging, oh, that's probably Disruptors, man. And he's going to move his units close as possible to this Warp Prism while the Queens try to go at it. Here comes a double Disruption Nova, and he's gonna snack down one Queen. And at early stages of the game, I do love to repeat myself on this. Losing Queens hurts almost as much as losing in archery.
Yeah.
Not that early right now, so losing only one, it's fine. Losing two, losing three, it's trouble.
Yeah, you definitely want to save those Queens. I mean, they're good at not only during the fight with the transfuse, but also, creep spread. You want to have as much energy for that as well, and also to spawn larva. But look at here, we have a 2-base attack. This is pretty committed. There is no Dirt Nexus on the way for our blue Protoss. He is gonna do or die with this attack.
This is such a clever way of playing the matchup. First down, he realizes there's a ton of lanes on the map, and he goes for it with Disruptor, Colossi, and tons of Stalkers. The force fields are perfect for Zoun. Amazing. He doesn't have a lot of DPS to deal with the lanes behind, but this force field just made up for that with blocking all of the roaches out of harm's way. And now Disruptors recharging their Novas and shooting out them again. I feel like Zoun needs a connection and he finds it! Cold Dead, beautiful, my man. Zoun finds the jackpot. But is it going to be enough? Not a lot of energy on these sentries. These Colossus cannot really do too much against the roaches. Oh man, but the Disruptors are just going nuts right now. Another perfect Purification Nova. Will another one hit? Yes, it will. I'm getting overexcited about this, but Zoun is absolutely melting through the army of Solar. Purification is at hand. And Zoun takes game number 2. Here's Mines, another pretty short map. Of course, the ramp in a natural and the very tiny main base makes up for it. Being being a very easy map to defend in.
Yeah, as you mentioned it, I mean, especially because Solar did get that particular hatchery base at the triangular side. I think if Zoun wanted to, this wouldn't be the worst map to go for a glaive adept attack, because I mean the bases are pretty spread out, and you can use a warp prism to ferry and warp in units from the main base all the way to the third or to the triangular base, and then going back and forth. And I think that would be a pretty good strat for Zoun to go for if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's definitely an option, and definitely a strong option at it as well. With also the distance between the natural and the third, as you were saying, being very far away, but the natural and the main are actually very close together. So making your adepts, your shades especially, hard to predict. It's easier due to the less distance they have to walk between the natural and the main, and you can kind of sending the shades in the main and then sending in the natural, because there's a really short distance, and it's really tough as a Zerg player to be prepared for both these shades at the same time while your third base is so far away from the natural. So you make a very good point, but we do have a Stargate opener, and that could still mean we're gonna see glaives, but for the time being, with these rally points, I'm expecting another Void Ray opener.
Yeah, I mean there is that Overlord there on the on top of the cybernetic core. I'm sure he wants to make sure.
Oh, rally point changed. Oracle first. Oracle first.
Yeah, Oracle. Well, I guess since he has the Stalker, I guess he can zone out the Overlord for the time being. So yeah, it looks like the Oracle does make sense.
Yeah, it's always nice to have an Oracle on the map as early as possible. You get so much good scouting information, you can kill a couple of drones, just be overall annoying. And it's such an overall good unit. You never get an Oracle out and, oh god, why did I make an Oracle? Did you ever hear a Protoss player say, why did I make an Oracle? I never did.
Yeah, I never did. That's why.
Here it is, getting the scouting information I was talking about, getting 2 drones killed, and then going to fly back home to give this poor Stalker the chance he was dreaming for, to kill this this Overlord sooner rather than later. Or maybe not. Just go at it again. And here goes. Another drone down. Another bit of scouting information. While back home, we do have what we were talking about. There's a Void Rain coming. There's the rally point onto the Overlord. But there's also resonating glaives.
Yeah, looks like he wants to clear the path with the Overlords while sending his adepts with those resonating glaives. Now, will it be a committed one, or will it just be kind of similar to the previous game where he just kind of sent like 11 and then he just kind of backed out and forced Solar to overreact? But obviously, you know, at that point, Solar transitioned that into a full-fledged attack and was able to do a Queen Walk and outright win. But maybe he can kind of do the same kind of tactic, but be a bit more prepared in terms of his defense. This is a much I guess this will be a bit more different type of map where, you know, I'm not sure if the Queen Walk will be better or worse. But at the very least, he can kind of, you know, anticipate that for this time around. And here we go. Looks like the adepts will shade, but will they let it shade? Finish shading? Yes.
They will shade in a pretty safe position. There's a lot of creep being spread out there for Solar. Zoun probably wasn't expecting this much creep being already out. These shades will probably never complete. And Zoun still has a lot of adepts, still can be aggressive. This is still tough to defend for Solar, but with this much creep spread, it's getting tougher and tougher for Zoun to actually commit these shades through. He's gonna commit over here in the third base with 2 adepts and not much more. He's gonna kill 4 drones. He's gonna block 2 in a stasis ward with the Oracle. And again, like, Oracles just being such a great unit. I was talking about the Swiss Army knife of Zerg being Lead Bane Hydra. Well, the Swiss Army knife of Protoss is probably just the Oracle. Yeah, I hear you, like charge a lot Immortal Archons, guys. That's some good stuff. But look at this guy go. Look at how many things he does. He gets scouting, he kills drones, he stops things from attacking you. He just does everything.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you grow up, you have that like one shop that sells everything or fixes everything, and it's just reliable. May not be the biggest store, may not be the biggest business, but you know, they just provide you with everything. Kind of like a 7-Eleven of some sort. Anyhow, here we go. Looks like Solar once again transitioning this into a semi-queen walk. Not as much queen this time around. But this time around, Zoun has fully anticipated this, throwing down a bunch of cannons, but will it be enough?
This concave is absolutely perfect for Solar. So many Ravagers shooting at the same time, dropping down vials in so many different locations, and all of the shield batteries going down at once. And now Zoun is probably thinking, oh god, why didn't I just drop down like 3 stasis words back home, knowing that Solar can go into this. And now it's real trouble. I do feel like Solar is getting to match point with this. He's not committing into the ramp. It's really complicated to commit onto that ramp against a Protoss player, knowing that he probably has a Disruptor out. You can see this Disruptor walking out onto these Crypt Teamers being spread around. Will he get a connection? Yes, he will. 2 Ravagers go down, but so will his third base. And there's a Spire transition back on for Solar, ongoing. The ramp over here in the natural is the last stand. And I do feel like Solar will decide against committing into that choke point and will wait for his Spire to be done. Easy GG, Snoopy. It does feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, especially once the Mutalisk comes into play, I think that has to be GG. I mean, this is a Protoss on 2 bases. Doesn't really have the necessary defenses against the Mutalisk. He doesn't have a shield batteries or cannons in the middle line that will prepare for it. He does have Blink Stalkers, but I mean, if he's stuck at home with the Blink Stalkers, then he can't really move out. And if he can't really move out, then Solar will just outright out macro him. And actually, looks like Zoun is going to get caught out here in the middle.
Yeah, if there was one way to recover, that way was some good Purification Novas. That is not going to be a thing for a little while, with 2 of the 3 Disruptors of Zoun being sniped in the middle of nowhere, and Ravager Battles still raining down from the sky. 12 meters incoming. Zoun knows what is up. Icy Gaming Solar will take the lead.
So, of course, we are now in the month of March, which means that after a couple months break, we are finally getting back into the EPT season. And the first EPT, huge EPT event in terms of EPT points will, of course, be the King of Battles number 3.
Oh,
and
boy, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's over 1,200 or so EPT points on the line. So, I mean, that gets started tomorrow, if you guys don't know. That will take place, of course, on the Twitch page of AlphaX. So that'll be twitch.tv/AlphaX SC2, which is basically the stream that you're watching right now. And
well,
yeah,
throw it out there for our YouTube fans.
Yeah, and yeah, this is going to be the EU qualifiers number 1. So the road to the main event begins tomorrow, and I am pretty excited. And I think both of these players, I believe, will be playing in either this qualifier, this EU qualifier, or the upcoming qualifiers. So, but anyhow, I fully expect they will participate and play in it.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to miss that opportunity as a SC2 player, as SC2 Pro. Like, that is the first moment in which you can get a lead as far as EPT points go. And those things are important, if you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah. definitely want to have a good start. So if you
Absolutely.
stumble throughout the season, at least you can kind of build yourself a little bit of a net.
And trying things out in this Brawler Scrub is, of course, the nicest opportunity they get. And Zoun will try again for the Stargate opener that failed him twice so far. Will it fail him the third time, Snoopy? A Void Ray this time first, not an Oracle.
Yeah, that is the $1 million question, right? I mean, man, Zoun has been pretty much killed with 2 Queen Walks. I would imagine he might want to change up the strategy this time around and not go for the Glaive of Depth timing attack. Maybe switch it up to something different, because it hasn't been working out for him. I mean, he has anticipated the walk as he was just throwing down a bunch of cannons and shield batteries, and it wasn't enough to defend. And I wonder if it's partly because, before, the answer to it was a bunch of Void Rays with a bunch of cannons and shield batteries. Some Protosses will add in, will change it up and add in disruptors instead. But with the bigger investment into Void Ray this time around after the post patch, you had to wonder if the kind of the answer to the counter to the Queen Walk has been a little bit limited into just mainly disruptors. Unfortunately, you can't get enough disruptors in time, it seems, to defend that, unless you do some decent economic harassment in the early game with either this Oracle opening or maybe with your Void Rays or something.
Yeah, it almost does feel the opposite way around nowadays. Like, it does feel like once Azure players sees a Void Ray out, they think, yeah, probably going for the Queen Walk, Roach Ravager push is probably the best idea I can get. And this is incredibly weird. Like, this is something that shouldn't really happen, with the Void Ray being so good at defending. Yeah, this lean's getting in is not really massive, but it's really annoying.
Yeah. A little bit.
Solar supply blocked for a while, losing 2 overloads. Not really the best thing ever for him.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising. But I guess sometimes you expect that when the Protoss opens up with Void Rays, the Void Ray will catch the Overlord and kind of momentarily supply block Solar. Looks like he will go ahead and fix that quickly. But yeah, you gotta wonder, what does Zoun follow this up with? It looks like, yeah, he is not going with that Glaive of Depths anymore.
He's getting charged this time. Charge, a much better option. Those Zealots can tank for ages, and with 3 Void Rays behind this, those Void Rays can clamp up a lot of damage and get rid of some key units, while the Zealots tank up all of the damage. Of course, the Eiger expense on Vespene gas that these Void Rays ask for will be completely negated by the total luck of Vespene expense on the Zealots. And with the Templar Archives behind this, Zoun is also kind of racing tech with this attempt to defend as well. Because honestly, after the scouting, I feel like Zoun saw a lot of drones. So I do feel like he knows that this is not going to be something crazy aggressive. There's still going to be some aggression from Solar. It's not going to be as committed as it was before. Double Stargate drop.
Oh wow. Yeah,
this is such a race tech right now.
He's going for everything. I mean, yeah, he is stretching very, very thin. I mean, he's on 3 bases, which is still pretty good, but I mean, to kind of run that many gas intensive type of tech, you definitely want to make sure to get a 4th base very, very soon. Or maybe he's just going for a huge attack, but for the meantime, it looks like he will go ahead and try to get that Stargate play out. I'm not sure if he's gonna have the chance though, because it seems like looks like Solar he might want to push out. Yeah, he's just moving out across the map.
Yeah, just trading supply basically as of now. Just trying to get some key units dealt with, sorry. But he's not gonna find much. He's gonna send the Lings in. The Lings are gonna die pretty much immediately to the Archon. So Solar will decide against committing with this, and he's gonna try to raise some tech out himself with a Spire and Infestation Pit being dropped pretty much at the same time. Zoun is very much ahead on that. You can see the supply not being amazing for the Protoss player, but his unit composition is just so good that Solar cannot really make a dent into this anymore.
Yeah, Solar realizes that he's gonna have to back out and
Fleet Beacon. How can he afford this? Oh, Disruption Nova will hit the Lings before they can snap down the Disruptor. But Solar is sending units in. He wants to get these Nexus killed. And if he can stop this from happening, that's gonna be trouble for Zoun. Of course, he doesn't really have enough army to do that. He's trying to spread creep in that direction to pave himself a red carpet into that base. But Zoun will do everything he can to stop that.
Yeah, it looks like Zoun smartly just relying on these charge lot mineral-based units to both defend but also harass, as we did see him forced to cancel on that 12 o'clock base, and that will free up a lot of the gas to be invested into this carrier tech here, which is going to be really good for Zoun, because right now Solar has no Spire to speak of. There's no Hydralisk or Infestor then.
Well, he has a Spire. He's not been producing anything out of it. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has a Spire. And there's 3 carriers production right now ongoing for Zoun. He has 2 more Vespene Geysers. He needs to fill these as soon as possible. Otherwise, he cannot really afford that. Yeah, he does that immediately, as I said it. But keeping these bases alive, it's so important. And his army is not really that great at being spread around. So many lanes being sent in and then being sent out. The Banelings will detonate on top of these Zealots and make a mess out of it. Meanwhile, on top left, a couple of roaches being so annoying, forcing a whole warping of Zealots. The carriers are out, they can deal with these roaches. And it looks like Zoun has defended on both locations with minimal effort. Solar will decide against committing. He has Vipers out, he has a greater Spire incoming, 7 Corruptors, all the high tech being dropped at once, and of course the Ultra Cavern to be as annoying as possible on the ground.
Alright, looks
Tempest.
like... yeah, I'm not quite sure about that decision. I feel like Tempest has never really, or rarely really been effective in PvZ. I could be wrong, but yeah. I would love it for him to have gotten either more carriers or more Void Rays, or maybe Storm with the High Templars.
Yeah, it does feel like Tempests are just a budget High Templar sometimes, but not even really budget. They're just do the same thing, that is deal with either Queens or Vipers, but High Templars kind of do that better. So in the end, they're left at just being the way you deal with a Spore Crawler Forest, but we don't have that yet. So these Tempests do feel early.
Maybe Zoun has something in mind that we don't quite know of with these Tempests. I mean, I guess we will have to wait and see, but in the meantime...
he's getting the tech to deal more damage to structures. I always forget the name of that. But it doesn't really feel like he needs it right now. That's what I'm thinking. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, you make a great point. I mean, there's no Broodlords to speak of, so... You know, Tempest would ideally... I mean, it would make sense. I could see him why he would go for Tempest if he did see Broodlords, but there are no Broodlords or anything. So, yeah, it's a little bit... it's a little bit of a head scratcher to see why he's going for Tempest. But what I do love is that he is kind of setting up a lot of these small charge lot army onto the sides to help limit the amount of bases that Solar can go for.
Yeah, that's the key with Skytos. Don't let anyone tell you, yeah, Skytos is OP because their main army is just too good. It's not that. It's that they can save so many minerals to just go for Zealot run by you. Oh, well, that's a big fight. Wait a second. With Ultras going onto the 4th base and trying to get some damage onto the economy of Zoun. Meanwhile, over here on the left side, it's Stalkers and in Ultras. It's not the best possible. Ultras don't shoot up. So it doesn't really look like Solar can make a dent through, and there's really not enough room to let those thick boys go past the defenses of Zoun. It was looking decent for Solar until it wasn't, and those Ultras never really did much anything. And oh my god, these archery is barely standing after one single Zealot run by.
Yeah, I would imagine Zoun wants to throw down a couple more charges at that base, but in the meantime, looks like he's more focused on the big fight here in the middle, as he is going to go ahead and plow his way through into the heart of the Zerg base.
Solar just doesn't have enough Corruptors with these. The surround on the ground is just massive, and the Archons are falling all at once. But meanwhile, these carriers just don't really have too much of a counter. More Archons being sent in and just destroying these lanes altogether. Now it's just the Queens left standing, and the Vipers were so far away from the fight. It doesn't really make sense to me why Solar did want to fight. These Vipers immediately fall, and it's GG for Zoun. Solar just didn't have enough.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of half wishing that Zoun would just go for a cannon rush right now.
That would have been very fun, but I guess it just never happens in this high stakes game, does it? I'm, as always, looking very closely to Zoun to see his next move, to see his first deck structure. That's the most important thing that can happen pretty much in the first 2.5 minutes in this matchup. And that pretty much revolves around seeing if whether Warp Gate gets started immediately or doesn't. So let's keep an eye for that. Meanwhile, Solar taking his third base as always. There's gonna be an Ash block. It just never changes. Word never changes.
Alright, Cybernetic Core about to be done. Will it be another Stargate? I mean, if the previous games are any indication.
Yep. It. Stargate again. It worked the last game. It didn't work in the first and third set of this best of 5 series. Solar was keeping a close eye for the same thing we were looking for, which is immediate Warp Gate or not. He knows it is Stargate, and he's probably thinking about his next move too. And honestly, I wouldn't be really surprised to see another Queen Walk here on Hardwire. Good map to do that. And honestly, it still has a 100% win rate today, so... Void Ray first for Zoun to kill this Overlord before he can get too much scouting information, and Roach Warren being dropped by Solar at an earlier timing than usual. Still pretty normal timing and nothing too crazy with his early Roach Warren.
Yeah, actually, very surprisingly, it is quite an early one, I think.
Wait a second, that's way too much production. Like 6 Roaches and 4 lanes? Yeah, that's not really a Queen Walker, that's almost a virtual lane right now.
Yeah, the classic of Roach with speed lane all in, I think.
Yeah, looks like it.
Man, if Zoun plays this right in terms of defensively, I mean, I think maybe the worst he can do is lose that third base. But I don't know, man.
Solar is pretty committed. He has 24 workers. I do feel like he can lose that third base and be completely fine.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't lose the natural, I feel like Zoun is fine.
Yeah, but the thing is, he has scouted this push really late.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Oh my god, can he wall off? He needs to really wall off.
Ooh, that's gonna be a problem. There's one pylon
Oh
powering
my
up
god!
all
Yeah, Deb is still standing. Oh my goodness! What? Okay, finally.
That shield body overcharged, doing wonders with this defense. Only one road ship was able to sneak past the defense, and it's gonna be a GG.